So, thank you, Asmita. I will just go ahead and record. Yeah. So, hi, hello, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I, Dr. Manali Kesarkar, resident doctor at Healing Harmony. Welcome you all for today's session. And yeah, just before we start, I would like to tell you all about our speakers today. To those who all are new, Dr. Preeti Shah and Dr. Prajakta Vaidya, they have been practicing for last more than 15 years in their clinics in Malad, and they teach both classical homeopathy sensation method and personal evaluation method. And they also conduct a lot of retreats, have conducted retreats in the past known as Karwa for their patients as well as homeopaths around. And their approach to homeopathy is multidimensional. They also provide a lot of range of holistic therapies known as like diet, yoga, meditation, counseling, etc., along with the homeopathic treatment. So they try to incorporate all these methods along with the homeopathic practice that they do. So this was for Dr. Preeti Shah and Dr. Prajakta Vaidya. And along with it, I would like to tell you all about musings. Musings we had started for the last 2 years, and we have conducted a lot of sessions over the 2 years span. And we have compiled all these sessions and recordings in the form of a repertoire, which you all can use, share, and learn. So this repertoire is available with us, and you could select any of the past recordings that we have done, and you could watch it again by getting those recordings. We have also done a lot of modules in the past. Well known from them were the mammals part 1 and part 2 modules, the mollusk module, basics of contemporary homeopathy, repertory intensive. All these modules were well received by homeopaths around, and they are available in the form of recordings if you wish to learn anytime. So do reach out to us for the repertoire. We have an upcoming workshop going on. Like we will be there on Chakra workshop, which will be on the 15th of May from 5 to 8 p.m. IST on Sunday. This is a 3-hour dedicated workshop, an intense workshop where you will learn about all the chakras in depth and experience it along with Dr. Preeti Shah and Dr. Prajakta Vaidya. So it's in the next week, and if you wish to join for this workshop, do reach out to us or call on the given numbers or on our website. Thank you. And we have this upcoming module coming on the basics of contemporary homeopathy. We did a same module last year, but this module would be a revised version of it with more incorporation of cases, feedbacks from last time taken, and more refined form of version of this basics of contemporary homeopathy. It is basically an amalgamation of all methods of Shankaran, Cholton, Gandhi, and Yakir, and it will start from the 8th of June for a span of 1 month until the 16th of July. It is a 12-day course on every Wednesday and Saturday at 7 p.m. IST. We have as speakers Dr. Preeti Shah, Dr. Prajakta Vaidya, Dr. Anisha, Dr. Jyoti, Dr. Chanda, who would be taking this whole 12-day course in a very in-depth format. I would like if Dr. Preeti and Dr. Prajakta could put some light on if they want to say something about the course, ma'am.
Well, hi everyone, this is Preeti, and thank you Manali for putting this together. Well, what I would like to just maybe add is this is the second version of the course that we did. Close to 100 participants attended last year, and I can personally testify that all of them benefited by attending this course. Since the time we announced this version 2, a lot of people who participated in part 1 last year, they have re-registered. They're going to attend once again because the concepts, the syllabus, the way we have kind of curated this entire module is very beneficial. And also, especially people who are new to these contemporary methods in homeopathy, for them, I think even a repetition is going to be very, very helpful, because each time you hear something, you see a case, a different case, maybe you get a deeper understanding of, your basics strengthen. Yeah. uh, who should participate, who should attend this workshop? So if you're new to practice, you just begun your homeopathic practice, it's a great module for you guys. But also, and majority of our musings audience are very senior homeopaths, who have practiced for several years. um, so this is just an additional tool, alongside your classical homeopathic practice. These concepts, once you start integrating them in your practice, you will see the difference in the quality of your practice. So uh, a lot of senior homeopaths will also really benefit from this course. So we are going to be covering, what is really sensation method, what are the different levels, how Dr. Rajan Shankaran kind of, discovered this whole methodology, and what are the basic principles of it. We'll understand the different kingdoms with the cases and how to identify them. We'll also see, the personal evolution method, which is kind of based on the Erik Erikson model. And how Dr. Gandhi conceptualized it, developed it, and how sensation method and the personal evolution method can work side by side, and how do you understand each better with the other. So that is something that we will learn. We'll learn miasms. We'll learn, each kingdom. We will kind of go in detail. So we'll spend like a few days on mineral kingdom, each row, each column. We'll use some case examples. We'll look at the animal kingdom. We'll use the animal chart, and we'll see what is the difference between invertebrates and vertebrates. Within each, subsection, what are the different groups, and we'll give you some case examples. Similarly, we'll spend 3 days on the plant kingdom, and look at the plant chart of Yakir and go through each subclass. So we'll mainly cover dicotyledons, because monocotyledons might become a little too advanced for beginners. And we'll also cover the nosodes and sarcodes. So this 12 days is very intensive. We have taken the feedback and learnings from the previous version. We've spoken to a lot of participants, even one-on-one. So we've tried to kind of really curate this, sharpen this particular version. And I really invite all of you all to join and benefit. If you want to know more, or if you want to speak to one of the previous participants, like share, what did they learn? I think all of us here, Dr. Manali, Dr. Twinta, Dr. Falguni, Asmita, they can put you to, speak to, the previous participants also. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to speak to you. And you can then take an informed decision. But once again, I really recommend that all of you all join, and see how it kind of practically makes a difference in your homeopathic practice. Anything, Prajakta?
I think also they will be able to understand how to, understand the patient's language in whichever language, or it's even if it is a vernacular language, how to understand the language and then differentiate the kingdoms. That will also will learn with lot of cases. So it's not going to be very theoretical. Along with the theory, it's going to be more with the cases. So the understanding practical and clinical will enhance with this course, I would say.
All right, so maybe we could put it on the chat box, some more details about the course, some contact details and registration links. And then if you all have any questions, you all can always reach out to any of the musing coordinators. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And with that, I we'll go forward to today's session with Dr. Preeti and Dr. Prajakta about proving their experiences about scallop and kangaroo, which we did in past few months, and we have compiled all the data together, and what has come up from it we'll learn today. So just a few instructions to mute your lines, and if you have any questions, do raise your hand, or you could we could ask them to unmute yourself, and let it be an interactive session also. Do take notes and share your experiences, and I hope you all enjoy the session today. And if you have any doubts or difficulties, you can reach out to us on homeopathymusings@gmail.com or on the numbers of the coordinators displayed on the screen. Thank you so much. Ma'am, over to you.
All right. Thanks, Manali. So with that, I think let's get started for today's session. I hope you all hear us well. I'm going to share my screen. If you can tell me if you're able to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to talk about the Lac Macropi proving, and Prajakta is going to be sharing the scallop proving. Okay. Before we get started, we have one short video which I would like to play for all of you. This is from Dr. Dipali. Just listen to what Dr. Dipali has to say. Yeah.
Hello everyone. Last year I attended the basics in contemporary homeopathy course by Healing Harmony and Homeopathic Musings team. It was an excellent coordination between all the doctors, Dr. Raini, Dr. Chanda, Dr. Prajakta, Dr. Preeti, Dr. Jyoti, Manali, Sri Lakshmi, I mean everyone, and they taught us all the characteristics of the plant, mineral, animal kingdoms, and as well as nosodes and sarcoids were also covered, and they gave us case examples of every source, and which made the theory very clear. I also particularly like the Eric Erickson's model of psychological growth of a person based on his mental age. That was something very novel to me, and I found it very interesting. Overall, it was an excellent experience. All the doctors were very kind, very humble. They responded very well to our queries, and I would like to thank all the doctors and recommend this course to the budding homeopaths as well as those homeopaths who want to grow in their career and learn contemporary homeopathy. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, let's get started. This is our contact details if you want to know more. So Lac Macropi, milk of kangaroo. So we decided to prove this remedy for a couple of reasons. One is, this idea or thought came to us when we were doing the second part of mammals module, where we were really kind of studying and teaching and sharing a lot of our cases and understanding of mammals. That's when, during that research and preparation, we realized that per se, not a lot of material is already available for Lac Macropi. Patricia has done a beautiful proving, and she's worked with a lot of lac remedies, as all of you might already know. But also this understanding comes from only a particular geography. It's not kind of very well proven with, a lot of participants across the globe. And Lac Macropi is very unique, right? I mean, it's an animal which is very local, very unique, and only from a particular land. And how does this remedy, affect, maybe individuals who don't belong to that land? We thought that would be very interesting to know and understand. and see if we can expand the current understanding of this remedy and the materia medica. So we proved this in 2 months, December and January, December last year and January this year. Only one dose of Lac Macropi, 200 potency, was given to all provers. The methodology was, it was a single blinded proving. That means the provers did not know what remedy they were taking. And of course, we, as the core team who was conducting this research knew what medicine or what remedy we are giving to each individual. So 10 provers basically participated in the proving. However, only 8 eventually ended up sharing all the objective and subjective data of what happened to them during the proving. Out of these 8 individuals who shared their symptoms with us, and we had a discussion with them on what happened, how it felt, etc. This is just a simple breakup of who received Lac Macropi. So out of 8, 7 individuals received the actual active remedy, and 1 individual received placebo. All of these participants were based out of India, but of course different regions in India. And we had almost equal male and female distribution of participation. This remedy was procured from Sakshi Pharmacy in Maharashtra, India. And what we did is 1 dose of the remedy was kind of mailed or couriered to the individual provers. Okay. So this was the basic methodology that we used for proving. Fairly simple, fairly standard. So what came up during the proving? What were the themes that came up? So the first very, very important theme that came up in the proving was about calmness. During, post the proving, when we had like a group meeting where everybody kind of came together, one very unanimous thing in that group meeting was that they felt instantly calm. They felt like something in them changed. As soon as they took the dose, something kind of settled in them. This was very, very marked, and with a lot of high rating, it came out very, very strongly during the proving. Some provers said that, calmness, like as if you are sedated, very peaceful. One prover said that, generally that prover she is very active, she's a little irritable, she is not a very calm person. But in fact, her friends and family also noticed that there was something different in the person, that she was more calm. She was not, reacting to contradictions as aggressively as she would otherwise. And there was a sense of contentment. Yeah. So this came out very, very strongly in the proving. Another theme was about danger and violence, a feeling of a sort of vulnerability. Yeah. So I'll just read out some of the dreams that came up, to kind of explain this theme. So one of the provers, prover 7, dreamt that there was a villain-like man standing outside my home. He threatened me saying, "Your husband is not at home. Now I'll show you what I can do." I was having this fear the whole day and I was afraid. The same prover also saw another dream that I'm in a jungle. There was a lion on one side, there was a tiger on another side, and then I saw a zebra by the lake. I was afraid. I tried to run, but I also wanted to face my fear. I wanted to befriend the lion. I was in my hometown. It was Diwali. I saw Rangoli lighting everywhere, but few were playing with toy guns, and I got scared with a toy gun. My brother wanted one, and he was running behind me on the road asking me to buy one. And I also started running. I feel tired and I was scared. So also I just wanted to, mention that this tired is also important. I mean, while it didn't come out very strongly in our proving, but in Patricia's proving, exhaustion or tiredness is also another theme of Lac Macropi. Okay. Another prover, prover one, the dream was that, the prover dreamt about people who tortures her, employers insulting her, mother-in-law taunting her, dream of a person with whom had an argument long years back. Another dream was dreams of thieves in my society. They were 3 in number and they came one by one and I was scared. The fear stayed with me the whole day. Another dream was dream of a luxury bus which crashes into my car while I'm taking a reverse. And I realized that the person who is crashing this luxury bus is one of my very old patients, like 25 years old, known patient. Prover 3 said, Prover 3, remember, is a placebo. So it's very interesting that the person who received placebo also had this danger and violence as a theme. One of the dream was image of a wild dog who was salivating, dream of cousin trying to kill me and his family trying to save me. Okay, so which is very interesting. Another thing that the prover said was that I was hiding somewhere, to save my life and also helping his family members to save their own life from him. So very interesting that how an individual receiving placebo also had like a similar theme in the dream. Another dream which might not come as a surprise, considering that, it's a lac remedy. We all know kangaroos. When we think of kangaroos, we think of the pouch that they have, right? So we know about this deep mother-child bond that kangaroos will have. Yeah. So that also came up in the proving. One of the provers said, prover 6 said, my child was Lord Krishna and I hugged him with so much love. And he also hugged me back with so much affection. I was carrying him. I had to carry him through a small way and it was so tough. The baby hit his head 2 or 3 times, which gave him small injuries on the head. Later, I made sure that he was safe and he doesn't get any more injuries. I would do anything for my child, for Lord Krishna. When I looked at the baby, he had little marks on his head, exactly the place I got hit on my head. And I was sad. So you see that the mother also hit her head. And exactly where the mother got hit on the head, the child had the same marks on the same place in the head. So at that level of connection. We weren't on some mission for which I was trying for a lot of lives. Yeah. So you feel this strong love for the child, trying to protect the child, trying to keep the child so safe that he doesn't get hurt. And then you are getting hurt, but your hurt marks are also seen on the child. Yeah, so much connection. Another very interesting thing that happened was to another prover number 8. And this prover, she was not really planning a pregnancy, okay? And during the proving, she missed her periods. Her periods were getting delayed and she was constantly worrying. And, she was also telling the proving coordinator that, look, I'm not getting my periods are getting delayed, I'm little worried, what happened? Eventually, then, she was feeling very scared. So she did a pregnancy test and she realized that she was pregnant. She says, I didn't know the sex of the child, but somehow I feel this is a girl child. I was totally unprepared for this pregnancy and I had taken all the precautions. I got a lot of flashback regarding how my parents raised me. How will I be able to handle this? The struggles of being a mother and raising a child. I was questioning myself, how did I miss my period? I was doubting whether I will be able to handle this. I will be so protective about my child. I somehow wanted to run away from this. Accepting this is so difficult. As a mother, I always wanted a second child. Now I feel like going to nature. I wanted to just sit in one place silently. On the day of, the post-proving discussion meeting that we had, and when she came to know, okay, this is the remedy, that I actually took. She says that today I saw a picture of kangaroo and I was thinking about its unique pouch the whole time. Yeah. So this is also so very interesting, no, that how the pregnancy occurred and stayed during the course of the proving. Yeah. And what she felt after that, what are the struggles of how much you need to do and take care of the child, and how you're going to protect the child against was about shame, embarrassment versus guilt. Uh, and for those of you kind of understand, the sensation method, who understand the soul. Embarrassment and guilt is also very, very strong mammal theme. A lot of mammals feel this. One of the dream of Prover 5 was dream of trying to kiss a young patient. And while doing so, feeling very, very very, very guilty and disgusted, unable to control and kept kissing her constantly. This conflict is also very mammalian. I was at my sister-in-law's home. I was talking to her. She had recently shifted to this place. I was very old, but very huge. Sorry, the house was very old and very huge. And while I was sitting and talking to her, suddenly I urinated on the floor. The urine was yellow in color. I was explaining to her why it happened. Removed my inner garments and my clothes didn't get wet. And I was not shameful at all. I was not embarrassed at all. Another dream was by Prover 6 that some famous people come to my home. It was morning suddenly, and I started to behave like someone so good. I knew it was not true me. Later, my brother woke up and started brushing his teeth. He didn't see the guest. My cousins and I started laughing and signaling him about the guest. After some time, he saw the guest peeping through us, but he didn't have any embarrassment. He smiled peacefully. So you see how beautifully this shame, shamelessness, embarrassment versus guilt and no guilt. This comes very beautifully also in this movie. The next theme was about doing something that you are prohibited, doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or going to a place where you're not allowed. One of the provers said, I saw one fruit, guava, on a tall tree. Okay. And then plucking the fruit from the tree was prohibited. I still tried to get one, and suddenly the tree broke off from above. The tree was almost 20-30 feet tall. And when the tree fell down, I took the fruit, but then suddenly a few people gathered and started telling me that I was not supposed to do so. But I went silently from there. I asked them to let me go and that I need to pray. I clearly saw the dream in early morning prayer time. Another dream by Prover 6 context was that I entered a school compound. I wanted to go to college. One student came and told me, this is a school compound and you are not allowed to come here. Another dream was that I was tired of my life. I was tired of my family and I wanted to abandon everything and join some missionary. She asked me, somebody at the missionary, what do you want to become? Who do you want to become? And I said, I want to become a doctor. And then she advised me that this is not the right place for you. Just go somewhere else, and told me to study well. Yeah? So this theme of being in a wrong place, doing something that you're not supposed to do, that you're prohibited, also kind of came up very strongly in the proof. Another thing was something, like themes of big things or luxurious things or unique things or something which has high value. That came up very well in the proving. Like, a few dreams that prover 7 had, the previous dream that we spoke about. So the accident had involved a luxury bus. Another dream said, another prover said that there was a dream of being an Egyptian goddess and everyone admired me so much. I didn't know my true potential. Everyone knew it and they were treating me like a goddess. Another prover dreamt that I had Harley Davidson and I wanted to, speed and race and go on a very high speed. And then there was another prover that we also read previously, right? That a lot of famous people came to my house. So this larger than life concept, something unique, something big, something luxurious, something precious in some form, some brand, came up in the proving that I'm special, I'm different, I want something big. Yeah, that kind of came up in the proving. There were themes of sexuality and attractiveness. One of the provers said that I noticed that my sexual desires have increased. My whole concentration the whole time is how do I satisfy my desire. My desires were like teenagers. In one of the dream, I was so beautiful that even old men were attracted seeing my beauty. So this is also very interesting that came up in the book. Another theme was nostalgia. This is also inconsistent with what Patricia got in her proving also, where you're thinking of some old times, and you're feeling very nostalgia about it. One of the provers said that I dreamt of my old house where I grew up. I saw dreams sitting in a cafe with my old friends. I saw my old college friend in my dream. She was shifting to Bombay, but she didn't tell me anything about it. I felt so bad. I felt why she didn't tell me. And this was an actual incident that had happened in college, which she dreamt. Dream of attending my friend's marriage, and I was so happy and I was welcoming everyone. So this was something nostalgia, old, remembering past things, past people, that came up in the proving. In terms of physical affections, a lot of GI affections came up. So one of that was on and off abdominal pain, passing stool, amelioration by passing stool, by bending forward or pressing for a long time. There was also stools which were very difficult and constipation, difficult to pass motion, soreness in the area, hard stool that came up in the proving. Yeah, I think a couple of provers had. And there were some throat symptoms where there was like scraping like sensation. One prover actually had like cold and cough, like upper respiratory tract kind of an infection, lot of irritation in the throat, in the nose, watering, salty expectoration from the posterior nares. So again, a couple of provers had these throat and upper respiratory kind of affection. Yeah. So this is what more or less came up in the proving. If we try to understand this further, what do we know about the source kangaroo? We all know that, young ones, young kangaroos, joeys, I think they are called, are born in an embryonic state after a very short gestation period. And they complete their development attached to a nipple inside the mother's pouch. Each embryonic baby must make its way from the vaginal opening to the pouch and attach itself to a nipple where it will complete its development for several more weeks. Males are not involved in rearing the babies at all. And because newborn marsupials must climb up to their mother's nipple danger threatens, it receives we know from the source. And this is something very, very special about marsupials. And it can be expressed in patients as being totally dependent like an infant on their, complete care, need for extreme protection, extreme safety, and very, very attached to mothers. They feel safe as if in the womb. They like to be covered from all sides, wrapped up completely. They feel unfit for the world. They feel vulnerable or incapable to face the harsh world. And they need to retreat or curl up in a safe place. So having a lot of fears, feeling vulnerable, sense of danger, needing complete care, love, care, protection, and extreme attachment with the parent figure, the mother figure, is something that we know from the source. It came up also in the proving. So this is something which is very, very, it is the anchor of the case. Yeah, this should be definitely present when you are also thinking about the prescription. I'll also share maybe a few points on what happened and what were the observation in Patricia's proving. So we can kind of correlate, what's kind of common, what is something that additionally came up. So we came across this one article, which is also published on her website, where she proved 3 different sources, all innate or, belonging only to Australia. So, for animals, she took Lac Macropi. She took a mineral remedy, mineral source from Ayers Rock. The remedy is called Uluru. And then also a plant remedy from the Queensland bottle tree. And very difficult to pronounce this. I'm going to try the Chiton rupestris. Okay, so Queensland bottle tree in short. And in her proving, and in this article, interestingly, she says all these 3 remedies, which are very local to the land, to the region, how they talk about or tell the story of this Australian continent, of its drift, of its first people, of its struggle, of people who kind of inhabited their land, and what went through. The Australian journey came out in the proving of all of these 3 remedies. So as we know that the Australian subcontinent, the Australian plate, is a major tectonic plate, right? And it kind of separated from this Antarctic and Indian continent, and it drifted away millions of years ago. Yeah. And somewhere around 45-50 million years ago, it completely separated from this Asian continent and the Antarctic continent. And now again, this continent, there is a drift, continental drift that is happening, and it's coming again, moving towards the north, as if it's going back to its source. So if you read about this, the Australian plate is moving the fastest. It's even kind of confusing the GPS, because there is a movement of close to 7 centimeters, if I'm not wrong, each year. So it's again drifting again back to its source. So it has ancient beginnings, and ever since it has moved away from the mother, so there is a drift away, and there is again a concept of reconnection. Yeah, so in these provings, for all these three sources, she noticed that there was a theme of journey, theme of separation, theme of isolation, then theme of connection, theme of returning back, theme of time versus timelessness, and fear of separation. So this is understanding it from a different viewpoint altogether, isn't it? Then another thing about Australia, which is unique, is Australia is understood to have been first populated some 60,000 years ago. Okay, and this was during the Ice Age, when there was migration from Asia out of Africa of people, and it was very difficult to kind of you know uh, inhabited this land. It was very difficult to integrate it. And the first people who walked or came and settled in Australia, they are called the Aboriginals, the first peoples. And they were very connected to the land, and they had a nomadic lifestyle, and they lived in harmony with nature and with land where they belonged. Okay. And this understanding of their world is through dreamtime myths. So there are stories, and there are songs, and there is dance, and not everybody has this knowledge. This knowledge is considered to be very sacred, very secretive, and only the initiated ones are told about the wisdom of these ancestral people, of the first people who ever came on land. So again, this theme of secret came in very strongly in the proving. Secrets, ancient, ancestors, wisdom, thinking as if somebody is talking about you, loss of innocence. So these kind of themes also came up very strongly in her proving. And despite the fact that its origins are ancient and it has been inhabited for many centuries, still this Australian continent is considered to be a newborn. No, it's just kind of separated from the mother figure. It's so much. And it was actually colonized and under the British banner by Captain James Cook in somewhere 1770s. And then it was kind of civilized. And initially, Australian colonies were mainly for felons, people who are outlaws. They were kind of kept there, they were isolated there. So, people who were kind of punished for even stealing, like, let's say, a loaf of bread. I hear some disturbance. You can mute the line. Yeah. So then what happens? All these convicts used to stay and, they were kept in Australia. Eventually, there was a lot of freedom fight, and, there was a freedom for these convicts. It was a very difficult struggle. But the land per se was unforgiving. It was difficult to survive, to cultivate, to find colonies, settlements. It was a very difficult thing. And to do this, to survive, these convicts worked together. And then that's where the iconic Australian term or tradition of mateship kind of came, which also came very strongly in the proving that, people working together, the sense of belonging, working together, having a mate who can, do things together with each other. And also what happened is, as new and new inhabitants started coming, new settlers started coming on this continent, the Aboriginals were, restricted to live their nomadic life. They were asked to shift from their original space, and they were just given, let's say, some trinkets or some meager fees to kind of use their land, etc. So the feeling, the original people who belonged there, they were dispossessed, and new people, foreigners, started coming and settling. So this is also a very strong history of Australia, and which also came up in the proving by themes of being dispossessed. Where should I live? Dream of being chased, harassed by men. Foreigners stealing and gifting. You see, in our proving also, there's a lot of theme of danger, of being attacked, robbers, I'm alone and somebody is coming inside, somebody is chasing me. That came up. Yeah. Foreigners, stealing, giving gifts in returns, having a sense of no place, company aversion to desire for solitude. That also came up very strongly in Patricia's proving of Lac Macropi. So, in summary, the proving themes for Patricia was: my voice is not being heard, I'm dispossessed, where should I live? The keywords were ancestors, communication versus miscommunication, aggression, belligerence, possession versus dispossession, patriarchy versus matriarchy, addiction, secrets, nostalgia for past, foreigners, stealing, gifts, horses. These things came off very, very strongly. Having no sense of place, dreams of nightmares, being chased, foreigners, stealing, gifts, women, lot of nostalgia, self-doubt, forgetful, poor memory, and things like that. Also in the mind, if you see, there was irritable sense of hopelessness with embarrassment at being observed, self-doubt, lack of confidence. Yeah. So this, I think, in short, was about Lac Macropi and its proving experience. I wanted to see if there are any questions here, or anybody would like to share their experience, their thoughts.
No questions so far. If anyone have any questions, please feel free to put in the chat box.
So you see a lot of animal themes, violence, territory, my space, sexuality, something which was mine is being taken away from me, feeling so vulnerable. All these animal themes came up, no? Then very strong mammalian themes came up, this strong connection with the mother, the unplanned pregnancy, protecting your child so much, the conflict of sexuality versus guilt, that typical thing that you have, embarrassment and guilt. That is all very strong mammalian that came up. And very, very, very specific to kangaroo would be these themes of calmness, peacefulness, nostalgia, timelessness, thinking of, having this intelligence of your ancient wisdom. So I think these are some very, very important features that came up very strongly in the proving. Doing something that you're prohibited but not allowed, being very unique and specific. These are things that you should keep in mind, which are very unique to Lac Macropi. Sorry, go ahead, Falguni.
Ma'am, there is a request to show the last slide again.
Okay.
And there is one question, which is other mammal which comes close to kangaroo?
If you have to see this strong mother child, which is extremely very important, then you can think of dolphins, you can think of elephants, which are very similar. A lot of matridonal remedies, themes of Lac Macropi is also very close to matridonal remedies, because this very, very strong, my existence is impossible without you. It's different than a placental birth, right? So they're also very, very similar to matridonal remedies. Is this the slide you were talking about?
Yes, about the delusions. There's one more question. According to PM, where is kangaroo placed?
Okay, maybe you want to show the chart. We'll share the chart with you. Do you see my screen?
No, ma'am. Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So if you see here, it's under prey and womb stage, beginning and womb stage. Yeah. Quite explainable, right? You're not yet born, you're not completely independent yet, right? You need complete protection. Anything else?
Ma'am, there is one more question. Lac Rhesus is close to the mother.
Yes, Lac Rhesus also. So dolphins, monkeys, elephants, actually all mammals, a strong connection, no? All mammals have it, right? Very strong. It is in dolphins, it is in elephants, it is in cows also for that matter, it is in monkeys for that matter, it is in matridonal remedies also. So, but kangaroos is at another level. Okay, it's a complete protection even after birth. It's an extended womb stage. The womb is outside. There's an internal womb, there is an external womb. Yeah? So this is very, very, very important. It's very close to matridonial along with mammals.
So I think they will explain more about this womb, which is an extended womb. The way it came up in the proving that I feel very good, or very safe when I cover myself completely and it wrapped up fully and covered from all the sides. So I think this kind of quality or qualifying the womb will come into kangaroos and not other mammals.
Yeah.
Ma'am, there is one more question. Connection to mother is lack feature.
Yes, connection to mother is a lac feature. It's a very mammalian feature. Yeah, this is another level as we explained. And if you want to understand these lac remedies in mammals, you can go back to our courses on mammals, which is taken in depth. So you'll understand. So a lot of common mammal themes are there. But what is the message that we are driving here is, this is an extended womb. This is an external womb. You're completely not developed. This is not a placental bone. So this is very, very different, very, very strong. Yeah. So there's more qualification to it, as Prajuta said, along with other typical features, the unique features that came up in the group.
Ma'am, there are no more questions right now.
So then, should we go to the next remedy and the next proving that we would like to share? So maybe Prajuta.
Yeah, I'll just share the screen. So, okay, so my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, so this is a proving of a scallop. The remedy name is Pecten jacobius. It was a meditative proving that we did. So first, I'll explain what was the methodology that we use, and then we will go into the themes and the symptoms and what are the feelings that came up during the proving. Okay. So this we conducted during our Mollusk webinar, or the courses that we conduct during that time. So the objective was to conduct this meditative process and also connect the experiences what the participants or whoever participated in that, and then we understand the learnings of it. So what we did during the proving. So first on that day, we had given the brief description or introduction of the scallop as a remedy in terms of its anatomy, its physiology and characteristics of that particular animal. And then the source and the materia medica or the homeopathic understanding we didn't share. Okay, so it was like at the first time that we were giving it an open exposure to the meditative process. And then we played this silent video of scallop, which was in the ocean, and the participants who were willingly participating in the proving asked to connect to the energy of the scallop by looking at that video and experiencing it. After that video, we asked them to close their eyes and witness whatever is happening at that particular moment, so that they can connect to the experiences spontaneously at that time. During that time, we played some music in the background, which included some deep sea sounds and the waves of ocean, the sounds of both these things that we played. And then when the music was over, we asked them to just, sit silently and take deep breaths and see whatever is coming. And then whenever they're ready, we ask them to share their experiences. So now I'm going to share whatever the provers said at that particular time.
So this is very this is very contrast to the very standard proving methodology, right? So kangaroo was in proper proving where the remedy was taken, etc. However, this is the objective of this proving. It was to see that when you connect to the energy of the source, okay, and see whatever material you already have, homeopathic materials, see, do they compare to each other? Are they similar? Are they different? This was the first meditative proving that even we were conducting. And, the results were astounding, as you will see, that just by connecting to the source, just listening, just looking at the video, looking at the source, and then listening to the source habitat, scallop, deep sea sounds and some waves, what can transpire, what happens to the provers, let's say.
So the prover once said that I felt that although I am little, I have my own weaknesses and strength. I feel the tentacles. Only when it is favorable, they open for food. And it closes when it feels the threat outside, it moves in. I feel like I'm stuck with my destiny. And I'm going through a journey quite positively. And then another experience was there when there were these wave sound words, played. I felt the thrust of water, felt like being thrown. When I felt like going down in the water and in its depth, I felt very good. I also felt choked and a jerk when thrown up from the wave. And sort of I hold myself and I still had a faith in my destiny. I also had a sense of having deep breathing at that time. So this was the experience shared by the prover 1. Prover 2 said he felt that was very threatening. I am being and every time I open my tentacles and eyes, and I can just propel forward, but only again spot. We are the vast ocean. Prove
We'll wait for some time. Maybe the network connectivity is low. We'll just wait for 2 minutes. They have got logged off. Ma'am would join again. Thank you. Hi, ma'am.
Sorry, we are back now. Okay. So just
Right.
share my screen. Okay, so
So we can start with the work.
so no feeling at all at that moment, but when he closed the eyes, there was
I think these are all
energy.
she's.
She's okay.
Scallop Kangaroo.
Okay. So there was energy which felt that to run or jump and play around my strength, but physical ability was not enough. I was not confident about, and I was getting tired, weak, and needing rest. This also extended later into traveling, and I wanted to travel really into many places, but there is fear or anxiety of moving into vast ocean, and it stops me there. I'm really scared of the unknown. When suddenly the music of the waves came in, it was a relief, for the waves are going to take me back and keep me secured over there. I was very happy with the last music and very contented. And then I also had involuntary sighing. Though I didn't travel much, I was in my safe premises and there was no danger to my life. Okay, let's go ahead. Another prover said, extremely connected, yet I felt lost, stagnant. Sense of little frustration was there. And then there was a need to move out. I had strange sense of confidence that I can, even during this whole musing, that was sense was which was there, that confidence which was there.
I can.
I can do. There was a need of playfulness, swimming, and lot of childlike energy. Who wants to go out? Lot of ease was there with the movement. I felt like a child moving out, jumping, playing, and then the music started. Then sudden sense of danger came, and yet there was some confidence which was there. I felt that very strange. There is a danger, but still there is a need to move out. I want to do this. But then there is some symbiosis happening. Synergy with okay with the danger at the same time, there was a need to be seen and not hide anymore.
So interesting.
Sometime there was a sense of stagnation, frustration, need to move out, and the ease and the confidence. And at the end, I felt anger towards humanity for eating me, a feeling, don't come near me. And there was discomfort being eaten around by humans. The same prover also felt my eyes have popped to show some sense of danger. Clearly, the feeling was, don't eat me. I am not meant for you. I popped up my eyes against them. I am fine to be eaten by other fishes. At least it will contribute to the whole ecosystem. There was sense of suffocation, sense of going up. Then you feel so much freedom, but pulling down by the weight of water. At the same time, the proof of fifth, she felt, I started feeling like harmony, beauty, kindness, calm exterior of the shell. Something is building inside like a tension. I saw some movement in my head like a jump and going in sort of thing. At the very start, I had a problem for breathing. After that, on the shore, I started feeling smaller and vulnerable. I looked at the ocean. I saw the timelessness and sadness with acceptance to my destiny, whatever it is. And then there was this prover who didn't want to speak, but it was shared on the chat. The words that came up was tender, puff up, mouth, touching, feeling, sensing, wildly, digestion, absorption, breathing, fast action, escape, movement, inhalation. There were some instinctual reactions, startle easily, fearful, seeks protection, then cozy, safe in shell, alone and isolated, sense of movement, and the suffocation that came out. Another prover said that he had a headache in the afternoon that time, and when he closed that eyes, the headache got intensified, kind of a violent headache. Then slowly it got settled. Then he started breathing deep, and then he had to put some effort on chest to breathe. But then it eased out. Something weird on the chest that he felt, but then with the sound of these waves, it eased out. This was a prover who gave this feedback post the session. I tried very hard to participate in the process.
Just give us a moment.
I tried very hard to participate in the process, but I did not feel anything. Did not feel comfortable sharing during the proof. Yeah. So we'll discuss now what are the themes that came during this proving. So the theme of being weak, vulnerable, that came up versus the strength. Yeah, we remember that prover which shared the feeling that he want to go out, still at the same time feels very danger. World is threatening. I'm stuck in my own destiny. I still have a faith in my destiny. I accept the destiny. But at the same time, feeling lost, stagnant, feeling weak against the vastness of ocean. The music of the wave, it gave me relief because, it is going to take me back and keep me secure. Cozy, alone, tender, feeling smaller, vulnerable, so much. I think almost all the provers had this kind of a feeling, which is weak and vulnerable and sudden sense of danger that they felt during the proving. This is like a very important theme that came up with all the provers almost. And then we could see the source theme from the mollusk, right? The first prover said that I had some tentacles. Some spoke about the shell. Then they also spoke about the processes the mollusks do, moving in, going in, and then open in the favorable condition, then close, thrown by waves, going deep in the sea. I feel safe or cozy or protected in the shell, but alone. And what is the safety mechanism was to dig myself inside, to cover myself in the mud and hide. And also in the chat box which provers shared, there were also these mollusk themes which were there. Very important theme of fear that came up. Fear of moving into vast ocean, fear of moving out, scared of the unknown. They're not feeling comfortable around the humans. Closed tentacles when the threat was felt. Fearful, don't eat me, I'm not meant for you. It startled easily. And they seek protection, cozy, safe in the shell, alone and isolated. So all these fears and their survival mechanism for this to survive, how they can manage, they all came up in this role. And then there were the themes of sea came up, right? The choking when out of water, because the natural habitat is the water. Felt good in water. Music of wave felt secure. They thought that I'll be back to my place. Move the tentacles only when it is favorable condition. When I felt going down in the water, in the depth, I felt very good. Only way I can keep myself safe is to again dig myself inside, cover myself in mud. So all these were sea themes that came up. Yeah. And then timelessness, sadness versus happiness. This was also a major theme that came up. Harmony and beauty, timelessness, sadness, stagnation. I felt happy and contented. Instinctual, connected yet lost. Kindness, calm exterior. And then the tension is building inside. So this also came up in the proving. Also, few of the provers said about the anger, sense of frustration. Eyes popped up to show the sense of danger. Anger at the anger towards the humanity for eating me, and then the feeling that don't come near me. Something is building inside like a tension, which also expressed in form of anger. The childlike energy, the playfulness, the jumping, moving out, swimming, childlike energy. This also came up very strongly in the group. Then buoyancy or freedom is very important, right? A theme that came up, the provers were not liking if they're pulling down by the weight of water. Sense of going up, you feel more of freedom. That was also very marked. And then most of the poor said about the movement. I propel forward, but only in spots. Slowly, but they want to go ahead. Sense of movement, being thrown here or there by waves. I wanted to travel into many places, but because of the fear stopped me. There were themes of traveling. And though I didn't travel much, I was in the safe premises. There was no danger to my life. And very ease with the movements and want to move out. This came up also very strongly. And about the confidence versus strength, strong sense of confidence. You all remember the prover shared. Confidence even in the danger. Or some felt that want of confidence. Need to move out even there is a danger. But the physical ability was not enough. But that sense of I can. Not hide even in the danger. That also came. And then there was theme of attention, not seen, not to be seen, and don't want to hide. That also came up. And one or two provers said, did they want to take. There was a lot of effort.
Ma'am, we couldn't hear you. Your voice was cracking up on that part.
Okay, from where?
The next slide, ma'am.
This. This one?
There were only, I don't remember. There were
Okay, so
only points on it.
okay, so breathing in difficulty in some breathing
Yeah,
that came up,
feeling.
right? Breathlessness, deep breathing, or there was involuntary sighing, suffocation, choked. All these feelings came up, right? Fast breathing, that also came up. And on the general levels, we saw that they want tiredness was there, they wanting to rest, weakness was there, tenderness was there, puffed up feeling was there, lot of intense violent headache came up, fast and issues related to digestion and absorption also came. Okay, so now what we'll do with existing homeopathic understanding which we have with it. So most of the sphere of action for scallop or a pecton jacobi is a very good remedy for heaviness on the chest and breathing difficulties. It's a very good remedy for asthma, right? So that came up. There was feeling of stagnation, hiding versus movement, and also desire for travel that came up. And as a mollusk theme, they felt very vulnerable, sense of danger, going in and hiding, that came up. The confidence that I can do it, or there was a lot of courage, even if there was a danger outside. And then need to be seen, or don't want to hide, versus for this survival mechanism that they want to go in, right, whenever there is a threat. And a lot of anger which was there. Okay, so if we see let's understand mollusk and then the scallop little bit in detail, or what other books or the authors have to say about the scallop. So if we see mollusk, there are three major groups. Most of them are in the water, right? So the scallop, it belongs to the bivalve. Okay, in bivalve, it includes, along with the scallop, there are clams, there are oysters, and there are mussels. And most of these bivalves, they are double wall shell, which their body is enclosed within this shell. But the scallops are the unusual bivalves, where they're the only ones in the bivalves who have an ability to swim. And they do this by spasmodic clapping movements of these walls. With the water ejected, like jet-like spurts happen. And then this helps the animal to propel forward. So if you see oysters and mussels, their survival mechanism is to get stuck or get stagnated at one place, which gives them security, which we generally see in the patients. We have shared a lot of these survival, how to differentiate these mollusks, specifically the bivalve remedy in our mollusk module, with the cases, so that we understand with the patient's language how are they talking and how we can differentiate. But in the scallop patients, they will talk more about, like, moving forward, about freedom, because they are the only one who have ability to move. Their way of survival is to move forward even if there is a danger. Okay, yeah, so if you see, these are the remedies in bivalves: oyster, mussel, clam, and scallop. So if you see, the least developed in the bivalve is oyster, and the most developed is the scallop. Okay, and it also called as a king of bivalve. Okay, oyster, what is the oyster? They're more psychotic. Okay, and for this, for scallop, they have a more of fire element that we see, more anger. And their defense will be more of movement and the thick shell.
Prove, that is the main thing, right? Very anal. They want to prove. That's the main thing that comes up in scallop, that despite my so small size, despite me being one of the smallest creatures that are ever there, I can still do it. Despite the danger, I want to do it. I want to go out. I want to prove I can. That's the main theme that comes up in scallop, despite my vulnerability.
And if you see in the boric, we can see humid asthma. It's a good remedy for humid asthma, quick labor breathing, constriction of chest, asthma preceded by coryza and burning in the throat. So if you have to summarize,
so the overall understanding that came up in the proving, and if we kind of put everything together, I think it's a personality who is small, weak, and vulnerable. In the event of threat or danger, like any other bivalves, like the oyster or the clam, it can go inside the shell, it can hide or bury deep or propel and escape. Propel and escape, or come out and face the danger. This is unique to scallop in all the bivalves. There is also a sense of doership, or a need to prove, to show that I can do it, I am capable. And this is against all other, this is not common to the other bivalves. And this is how they are different. They are the only bivalves who can move actively by clapping their walls. And they have the toughest of shells. They are weak but strong. As evident from the proving, there's a theme of childishness, is actually a wrong word, a childlike playfulness, along with anger and need to prove. So as we said, most anal, I'm proud of myself, I'm proud of my skills. Great, opportunities are there for me and I can do it. Stubbornness, always wants to prove himself in difficult situations, to do something to show that he can overcome the problem. And these problems might not even be like that big, but for them it's a big deal. Like for them, uh, let's say taking, learning to drive will be a big deal, but they will feel this is a big challenge. And yes, I have accomplished it. Yes, now I have a driver's permit. I can drive alone, something of that sort. They want to prove, they want to show, and then they want to like get a pat on their back that yes, you could do it. They are tough, or they want to show that they are tough. There's a lot of anger. They always will find some challenge and a compulsive attitude that yes, I can do it. In children who look like calcarea car, who react in an exaggerated way if they are to overcome little steps in their development, like learning to drive a bike, need to prove that how strong I am. This is very, very important. So pectin, Jacobius, if we have to just kind of try and understand that how can you correlate that with other remedy, then you can think of calcarea salves. It will have all calcarea-like features. It will have a lot of bivalve-like features. But at the same time, it will have the confidence and the showiness and the ego of sulfur. So there is insecurity, there is weakness, yet there is a need to prove, to achieve, to show off the accomplishment. Tendency to boast, confusion, unsure versus stubborn, confidence and anger. Okay. How can you practically prescribe scallop? So if you see a lot of sea themes, aquamarina themes, you see this, typical bivalve or a mollusk theme that comes up. But at the same time, you see this anger. There is movement. There is need of proving oneself. If the sphere of action is respiratory system. Another very, very keynote symptom, which we also see in materia medica and repertory, is this tight jaws. This, what is this called? Temporomandibular joint. No, very stiff. They can even have grinding of teeth. This is also one very practical tip that you can think of while prescribing this remedy. Yeah. So this is about scallop, our experience of the proving. Any questions, any thoughts on this?
Ma'am, there are a couple of questions in the chat box. Can you differentiate meditative proving with wise process?
Yeah, so actually the wise process, which Dr. Shankaran is now teaching and he's written about it. We have attended, actually, Prajakta and I have attended this workshop with Sir, and we're trying to learn under him. These are series of processes which bring or help you bring more awareness to your inner patterns, to your other song. And there can be more than one. And how you can witness it, witness this inner song. And with this witnessing, by the methodology of witnessing, a healing occurs, a deeper healing occurs. So the purpose of wise is very therapeutic in also that sense. Meditative provings can, like all other provings, even a drug proving, like if you're actually taking the remedy, in some cases can also become therapeutic. You can heal yourself if somehow it kind of touches your similarly. Yeah, so meditative proving can also become therapeutic. But in this proving, what was done, a group of people came together and they looked at something and they connected with the energy, and then with their experience, they became aware of what came. Yeah, but they actually connected to a particular source. And for them to help them connect to the source, I mean, a lot of meditative provings can be done when the actual source is with them, like physically present. And this proving was done during the lockdown period, and we had, participants and viewers from across the world. Yeah. So it wasn't possible. So we had to show them the video of the scallop, the scallop video in the ocean, how it moves, how it sits, how it is settling. So a silent video was shown, and also just as a sensory experience, the habitat, the sounds that are present in the ocean, in the deep sea, and also on the surface of the sea, the waves, those were shared. So there was a connection to a particular source. Music also is a sort of an energy, right? So there was an energy, external stimulus which was given. Okay, with that, certain symptomatology, certain mental and emotional states surface. Now, when this emotional mental state that surfaced, if somehow it connects to your inner pattern, and if there is a simillimum there, there could have been there is a possibility of healing to occur. So while certain methodologies are similar, the objective and what is being done is completely different. Yeah. So on the surface it might look similar, but they are quite different.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
someone has even in voice similar thing is done. How can we say it was experience of that scallop source, not their inner song?
So there are a lot of things. There are uncertainties, but a similar inner song for I think close to 8 provers. So there were a lot of provers and a similar pattern that was coming out, right? So for some it could be their inner song. For most it is not, because there's a uniform pattern that came up in all the 8-9 provers that were there.
Next question is, do scallop help over thyroid problems?
So they will definitely help if it is simillimum. Yeah. So there is no specific remedy, but if overall, if the holistically, if you look at the case and it's a simillimum, scallop can be prescribed for thyroid.
Ma'am, someone wanted to see the DD of mollusk slide which you had shared. I think one before the summary which was shared.
Okay.
Is there any similar remedy in vertebrate is one question.
So if you look at the animal chart, can I answer this question? Yeah. If you look at the animal chart, the mollusks are on the left side, right? So they are in the womb as in the water, isn't it? So if you look down, other correlation could be all the womb remedies in the vertebrate. So, the fishes or the reptiles, for example. But in the vertebrates, I can't think of an exact, kind of comparative, like which is very strong. But I think calcareous salt does that. So if you want to really find a complementary or something which is very similar to understand scallop, then I think calcareous sulf is a remedy that you should keep to. Is this the one that they wanted to see?
I think so, ma'am. Ma'am, there is one more question. Can you show the video of scallop which was used during the proving?
Okay, I think we have it here. Let's see if this plays. Okay, just give us a moment to see if this is working. Or we'll put the link on the chat box. Maybe you all can see it at your leisure.
I'll share the link, ma'am.
Yeah, I can try and put it right now also and see if it is still working. Just give me a moment. Okay, it's working. Let's see if you're all able to see it. Yeah, so I hope that helps.
Shall I take the next question? One of my patient child says, feel like going back in my mother's womb. Can we think of kangaroo? Very much attached to her mother. That is the question asked.
Come again, one of my patients.
Child, the patient is a child, and the child says, feels like going back to my mother's womb. Can think of kangaroo. Very much attached to her mother. That is the question.
Yeah, so you can definitely think, no, from all that we kind of read and understood today and what we shared, but there are a lot of other remedies that can say this. Yeah, so this is not just unique to kangaroos, wanting the need to go back to the womb. A lot of remedies in the womb stage of development might say this. Not just mammals. Going back inside, a lot of remedies can say it. So you understood a lot of other features of kangaroo, right? So try and look at the case from all the different, angles, and then maybe see if kangaroo comes up. But could be.
Next question is, any clinical tips for differentiating different mollusks?
Rajita, you want to take that?
I think we can differentiate the remedies depending on their survival strategies in bivalves. As we shared the screen, I'll just share that slide. As we said, the oyster will be, more strategy will be to settle or attach. So we'll see that more in the patient. Okay, then the scallop will be more of a movement, or more of escape mechanism that they will choose, right? In mussel you will see a lot of anxiety. There will be more, the muscles are more likely like kalis that we see kali in our mineral chart, and their defense is like staying together or coming together. So you will most probably see all the muscles will be together, traveling on the shore and then going back. So in these way we can differentiate. And for the clam, they will be more of the venus and there will be a lot of isolation, because their mechanism is to go very deep inside the mud or the soil, and hide. So that is their mechanism. So in this way, when we understand this language in the patient, we'll be able to differentiate these mollusks.
And we've done like a 7-day module on mollusks. So this question, will take 7 days to answer. So it's not very easy to explain. But bivalves, gastropods, cephalopods. So when you have to clinically distinguish a mammal, decide whether it's a bivalve. Is the strategy of opening and closing just being attached? Is the movement already begun? Do they have a complete external shell, or they're already outside the shell? Is it a gastropod, or is it a cephalopod where the shell is almost lost and there's a lot of movement? So the first is to distinguish which group within mollusk it is, and then within each group, then there are different characteristics. Yeah. So you should, maybe if you're really interested, the recordings of the mollusks module are available. And I mean, I'm trying to be modest, but whatever learnings we have had from our teachers, our mentors, a lot of research has gone into it. So you should try and look at that recording. It will be very, very helpful for you. Maybe Asmita, you can put the links of it in the chat.
Ma'am, next is one experience which is shared, not a question. I am in Melbourne. Yesterday I was in Uber. A kangaroo which has lost its way was bounding along the roadside, then back and forth across the road. This is unusual. When I saw you having proving of kangaroo, I had to join. This is the experience shared by Anne Shash.
Thank you for sharing and thank you for joining. I don't know if you want to share any other experiences of kangaroo that you might have personally had from a source perspective. You can unmute yourself if you feel like and share. Anything else, Falguni?
There is one question. What rubric when patient says, I want to go back to mother's womb?
It's very difficult to say what rubric. This, if you can understand from a sense of level of development or the sensation. So these are very womb remedies or maybe infancy remedies, who have this intense desire to go back. So, a lot of remedies come in the womb stage of development. So, you can pick up any of those remedies, read there and kind of try and understand from there. Basic course, I think that will be a good starting point for you to understand these concepts of what is womb stage of development, what remedies kind of sit there. So all the aquatic animals, for example, they could be, water is the womb, right? That's where life began. So all the water aquatic animals, starting from porifera or, mollusks or lobsters, fishes and tortoises and reptiles, they can all have this, they can talk this womb language. But otherwise also, a lot of mammals can talk about this. Anybody who is from the womb stage of development or even the natrum line sometimes may say it. Yeah. So row 2 in the mineral chart, if you're looking at. So, remedies like boron and lithium and carbon and nitricum and oxygen, they can use this language too.
No more questions.
Okay, then if that is all, I think we are good to close today's session. Once again, thank you everybody to join, and you can reach out to the numbers that are provided if in case you have any queries or questions. Anything else, Manali, Falguni, you want to add before we wrap up?
Nothing, ma'am, from my side. It was a great learning session today to learn both the remedies in depth and what something new that could come up from these remedies. I hope the same way everyone who comes across any of these provings or any case of kangaroo or scallop, you could share your learnings on the Musings WhatsApp group that we have to continue the discussion ahead. And I hope that helps everyone.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, I also wanted to, thank all of these people who have put all this together. So, Dr. Manali, Dr. Sri Lakshmi were part of the proving. Dr. Falguni helped with, reconciling all this material and putting it together. And Dr. Twinta and Smita working in the background with all of us. So thank you all for all your contributions to make this possible. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care. Bye, Manali.
Bye, ma'am. Bye, everyone.